Now we move to the main event of the evening in a fantastic fight between two fighters just right on the cusp. Not even on the cusp, but one in the top 10. Or no, yeah, they're both right on the cusp of the top 10. So I don't know what I'm saying. In the lightweight division, you've got a battle between the number 11 ranked Arman Ahalkalatis. I believe that's how you say it. Ahalkalatis Tsarukyan, who comes into the fight with a record of 18 victories and 2 defeats, going up against the number 12 ranked Mateusz Gamrot, who comes into the fight with a record of 20 victories and 1 defeat. So number 11 versus number 12 in the 155-pound division, 18 and 2 versus 20 and 1. This is a very, very tricky fight, man. This is, if anybody's looking to bet for these cards, stay away from the main event. Don't touch it. I'm sorry. I know everybody's going to be riding Tsarukyan side because of his, training at Tiger Muay Thai, working with the Hickman brothers, I believe, or he did at some point. I think I could be wrong. Working with Piotr Jan as a training partner. I believe he also worked at ATT, American Top Team, for some of the, his camps. Tsarukyan's a monster. I picked him to beat Joel Alvarez, and a lot of people were on the Alvarez side there because of his length, his reach, and his striking ability. And, I wasn't surprised that people were picking Joel Alvarez, but I knew that Tsarukyan was just an overall better fighter, and he showcased that with the wrestling, the top control, avoiding all the submissions, keeping the head on the chest, really suffocating Joel Alvarez, and then those vicious elbows from the guard, man, just constantly, just boom, 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 constant elbows, and just literally ripping apart the face of Joel Alvarez, making him a complete bloody mess. I mean, just busting him open. With Gamrot, he's new to the UFC, but technically a lot of people believe he should still be undefeated. He had 1 loss in the UFC, so he's 2-1. Wins over a submission victory over Jeremy Lil Heathen Stevens, and then a TKO via a knee to the body. I believe he popped the rib of Carlos Diego Ferreira. So a KO and a submission, and then he has a decision loss to the guy who just fought in a phenomenal fight last weekend with Damir Ismagulov in Garam Kutataladze. So I'm excited to see where Kutataladze goes in his career following this, controversial split decision loss. I do think Damir did enough in that third round with his jab to kind of, win the round and steal it just with the damage he was causing on the face of Garam and the success and effectiveness he was able to have with his jab in that third round, I believe, stole it for him. But it was definitely a close fight. And if they would have given the fight to Garam Kutataladze, I would not have been mad. I mean, it was a very close fight. Not the same story for the main event with Cater and Emmett, which we talked about in the beginning of the podcast. But yeah, that's a story for a different day. Really disappointed in the decision. A close fight, but I feel like Kelvin easily won that. But it is what it is, But Mateusz Gamrot, gamer, he's exactly that. His nickname fits him perfectly. The dude's a gamer. I mean, he's going to come forward. He's known for his wrestling, his scrambling ability, and his slick submission game. That's what he's known for. He's very, very solid at chaining takedown attempts together. His scrambles are unbelievable, stuffing a takedown, faking a takedown, getting the opponent to sprawl, then pulling back, then jumping into the front headlock position. Then when they get up from the front headlock, you go to the double leg, then you go to the single leg, then you go to the knee tap, then you work the ankle picks, just transitioning from takedown to takedown to takedown. And he doesn't give up. He's relentless with his wrestling. You might take him down, get back up, take you down again, get up, take you down again, work to the body lock, take you down again. He doesn't get too much off with his ground and pound from the top position, but his wrestling, his scrambling, and the constant takedown attempts and pressure, I think that's going to give Tsarukyan a little bit of trouble here. I know Tsarukyan has great striking. He's definitely the better kicker in this match. He has really, really solid work with the right hand faded off into the lead left high kick. He's got a very solid check left hook. He likes to feint with the lead hand, kind of lifting it up and down, left and right, kind of getting you to get hypnotized by it. And then he'll pop the jab, and then he'll move his lead hand, kind of playing with you. Boom, a lead left hook as you step in like he caught Christos Siagos with. Got good ground and pound, good takedown, phenomenal wrestling and phenomenal scrambling ability on the Tsarukyan side as well. And you saw that showcase tenfold in his UFC debut where he had the most competitive fight of Islam Makhachev's career to date. I mean, it was back and forth. The wrestling was back and forth. Even did a little fireman's carry sit out. Did get one takedown on Islam, but it was Whizzer fighting for Whizzers, stuffing the doubles, cutting the corner, shooting the single, constantly just back and forth with the wrestling. If you haven't watched it, Arman Tsarukyan versus Islam Makhachev, definitely go back and check that out before this fight goes down this weekend. It was a phenomenal showcase of grappling, scrambling ability, transitioning from takedown attempt to takedown attempt, reversals into position changes. It's everything you could ask for with high-level grappling in mixed martial arts, in high-level wrestling at that. But I feel like people are counting out Mateusz Gamrot a little bit too much in this fight. I haven't seen a whole lot of people leaning on the side of Gamrot, and let me tell you something. His scrambling and relentlessness with the takedowns and the constant ability to shoot, and with his submission threat, he can be trouble for Tsarukyan on the floor. I definitely think he can be trouble. I don't think it's going to be easy for Tsarukyan to get these takedowns against a guy like Gamrot. I think on the feet, it's going to be definitely favorable on the side of the number 11 ranked Tsarukyan. I think he's got better kicks. He's got more power in his shots. But, Gamrot's got a good right hand. He's got a good jab. He does keep his head on the center line and kind of overextend with some of his combinations. And when you do that, it's going to be open for the high kicks of Tsarukyan, the right hand of the lead left high kick, the left body kick, the left hook. It's going to be open for the combinations and the sharp technique with the speed that Tsarukyan showcases. But Gamrot's a little bit awkward to the point where his strikes don't look the most technical or efficient, but he's able to land on you at awkward angles, uses really good lateral movement, always circling, moving away, pop, pop, circling, pop, 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 boom, 1-2. He landed the 1-2 on Scott Holtzman, dropped him, and then jumped on him to get the finish. I mean, the knee to the body against Diego Ferreira that popped the rib. He's kind of an awkward fighter where it doesn't look the most technical or tactical, but he's got a little bit of swagger in his step, and he's got awkward angles with the punches that he throws, and I do think he can give Tsarukyan a little bit of trouble, but I definitely think if there's an area for Gamrot to win this fight, it's by using the takedowns, using the top control, using the scrambling ability, and just trying to tire out Tsarukyan over 25 minutes. We don't know who has the better cardio. We saw Tsarukyan push the pace against Islam Makhachev, and they went back and forth with the wrestling, and Tsarukyan did get tired in the third round, but I think anybody would get tired in a fight that's that back and forth with that many transitions, that many reversals, that much chain wrestling. Anybody's going to get tired there, so I don't think you can take a lot from that, aside from how good Tsarukyan's wrestling is paired with his great striking, with the technical ability that he has. And I don't think you'd expect anything less from a guy who trains out at Tiger Muay Thai and has a training partner in Piotr Yan. He's going to have good striking. Training at Tiger Muay Thai, you're going to have good kicks. You're going to have good defensive ability. And I do think that overall, the more well-rounded fighter is Tsarukyan with the wrestling ability, the takedown defense, the takedown attempts, and the powerful striking with the speed that he possesses. But I definitely think that, Gamrot has that X factor where he's not perfect in anything that he does, but he finds a way to get a finish, and he finds a way to push the pace and make it a dirty fight. I think he can do that against Tsarukyan. I think he can definitely work that grappling, work those chain wrestling attempts, work to just kind of tire out Tsarukyan, make it dirty, get him against the cage, land knees to the body, land the 1-2 down the center, pop him with the jab, 1-2, 1-1-2, 1-2, jab, lead hook, lead body kick, switch southpaw jab, right hook, right body kick, hide the body kick behind the hook. Gamrot is definitely capable of winning this fight, and I think a lot of people are going to be leaning towards Tsarukyan and just, completely writing off Gamrot. You don't understand. The fight he lost against Garam Kutateladze, he was able to use that grappling, use that wrestling, use those takedown attempts, and out-wrestle Kutateladze in the third round. But he got outstruck in the first two, but it could have gone the way of Gamrot, and Gamrot could be sitting here right now at 21-0 in his pro MMA career. He hasn't been in the UFC that long. He trains alongside a lot of the top guys at American Top Team, Jorge Masvidal, Renato Moicano, Dustin the Diamond Poirier. I think Poirier used him in the lead up to his fight against Charles Oliveira in his camp. I'm not 100% sure. I could be wrong, but I think Tsarukyan also trains at American Top Team and Tiger Muay Thai. They kind of go back and forth. So they train at the same teams, but man, it's a close fight. The line is, for the betting aspect of this fight, they have Tsarukyan as a, let's see, a minus 255 favorite to a plus 215 for Gamrot. I think that's a little bit high. I would have Tsarukyan at like a minus 190 and come back at plus 165, plus 170 for Gamrot. I think it's that close of a fight. And over 5 rounds in a fight where neither guy has gone 5 rounds in the UFC. But, Gamrot is an ADCC grappling jiu-jitsu world champion. I believe a multiple-time grappling and jiu-jitsu world champion. So you can't write off the submission ability, the grappling, the scrambling ability. He might be able to catch Tsarukyan in a heel hook. He might be able to catch him in a guillotine. He might be able to find the back and work the submissions. He might be able to lock up an arm in an armbar or Kimura inside of those scrambling attempts and the wrestling transitions that Tsarukyan is going to have to use, because there is going to be a lot of grappling and they're going to go back and forth. I would not be surprised if Gamrot wins here, but I don't necessarily have a side that I want to pick, but I know I have to make a pick. We'll look at the stats very quickly. Reach, 72.5-inch reach for Tsarukyan to 70.5-inch reach for Gamrot. So Tsarukyan's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage, but Gamrot's going to have a 3-inch height advantage. And I think the movement, the length, and the reach, and the way he uses his lateral movement and footwork is going to make it a little bit harder for Tsarukyan to close the distance on a guy who has a 3-inch height advantage. You look at win percentages, 39% of the wins coming by way of KO for Tsarukyan, 28% by submission, and 33% by decision. For Gamrot, 32% by KO, 26% by submission, and 42% by decision. Average fight time, that leans on the side of Arman Tsarukyan with 11 minutes and 31 seconds compared to 7 minutes and 43 seconds for Mateusz Gamrot. Knockdown averages, that actually goes on the side of Gamer with 0.22 for Tsarukyan to 0.49 knockdowns per 15-minute fight for Gamrot. Significant strikes, pretty close with both guys. 3.75 landed per minute for Tsarukyan to 3.79 for Gamrot. 47% significant strike accuracy rate for Gamrot to 48% for Tsarukyan. So very close, 3.75 to 3.79 and 48% to 47%. Strikes absorbed per minute, Tsarukyan is a little bit better defensively, but that's not surprising considering that a lot of the time Gamrot keeps his head on the center line. He doesn't really move his head much. He does have decent defense with circling away, catching, and parrying shots, but he doesn't really move his head off the center line. 1.36 strikes absorbed per minute for Tsarukyan to 2.69 for Mateusz Gamrot. 61% striking defense overall for Arman Tsarukyan to 64% defense for Mateusz Gamrot. Looking at the grappling, this is where it gets interesting. 3.47 takedowns per 15-minute fight for Tsarukyan, 5.83 for Mateusz Gamrot. You look again at the takedown accuracy, 37% for Tsarukyan, 40% for Gamrot. 78% takedown accuracy rate for Tsarukyan. A lot of those takedowns came at the hands of Islam Makhachev, which a lot of people can't defend his takedowns at all. So, you can't really look too much at the takedown defense there, but 100% takedown defense for Mateusz Gamrot. Submission average per 15-minute fight, none on the side of Arman Tsarukyan, 0.49 on the side of Mateusz Gamrot. Now, I broke the fight down. I feel like we did a pretty decent job. Tsarukyan's going to have the advantage on the feet, but Gamrot is awkward. He's got weird angles with his shots, and I think that right hand's going to land for Gamrot. I think the jab's going to work for Gamrot. I think he's going to look to use a lot of the kicks because he might want Tsarukyan to shoot takedowns and leave his neck open or get into those scrambling positions, like the takedown attempts, the chain wrestling, the scrambles, the reversals, the sit-outs, the rolls, and he's going to want that. That's what he wants. He wants to make this a grueling and dirty fight. It's 25 minutes. I don't really know which side I want to go, and I said that earlier, and I'm going to stick to it here. It's such a tough fight to call, and you can't lean one side 100% confidently being like, oh, Tsarukyan's going to run right through Gamrot, or Gamrot's going to submit Tsarukyan right away. I don't know, but honestly, I think I'm going to lean with the grappling heavy approach, the scrambling ability, and the submission threat of Mateusz Gamrot over a 25-minute fight. I definitely think that Tsarukyan is better on the feet. He's got better kicks, better technique in the striking. He's definitely dangerous, and he's got the speed advantage. But over 25 minutes, that grueling, grappling heavy style is going to be something that I think Gamrot can definitely keep it up for 4 out of the 5 rounds. I don't know if he can go 25 minutes with that hard of a pace, but he is relentless. You saw it against Diego Ferreira. You saw it with the takedowns and the timing of the takedown entries against Jeremy Stevens. I think he's going to be able to take down Arman Tsarukyan, and I don't think that Tsarukyan has the best game off of his back. He's really good from the top. He's got great ground and pound. He's got good submissions, but if Gamrot gets him down, I don't necessarily think that, Tsarukyan is that big of a threat off his back, and Gamrot might be able to constantly get those takedowns in the second, the third, the fourth, and so on, and work his way to a decision or possibly locking up a submission. But overall, I think the fight is going to go the distance, and I'm going to lean with the underdog. It is not too big of an underdog, but I am going to lean with the underdog in the number 12 ranked Mateusz Gamrot to defeat the number 11 ranked Arman Tsarukyan. I probably said that wrong, but whatever. I'm sorry. Against Arman Tsarukyan via a 48-47 unanimous decision. I think he banks 3 out of the 5 rounds. I think the fight does go the distance. If you're going to put a bet on this fight, I told you not to touch it. Don't touch it from either side. But if you get like an over 2.5, over 3.5 for the rounds, then I would probably take that to go, because I think this fight's definitely going the full 25. It's possible to get a finish, but both guys are so well-rounded in each area of their game. But I got to go with Mateusz Gamrot, the number 12 ranked lightweight, to defeat the number 11 ranked Arman Tsarukyan via a 48-47 unanimous decision, banking 3 rounds out of the 5. All right, that's going to be it for the breakdown, predictions, and analysis of UFC Vegas 57 or UFC on ESPN 38, Tsarukyan versus Gamrot on this podcast. These predictions will be uploaded individually to YouTube and probably uploaded as a full episode as well. So definitely be on the lookout for that today and following, longer on in the week. Really good fights here. You can tune into the Touch 'Em Up podcast anywhere you get your audio podcasts. That includes Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Stitcher, and many, many more. Definitely leave a like for this podcast. Leave a review for this podcast anywhere you can. Get it out to your friends, your boyfriends, your girlfriends, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your nephews, anybody you know, your training partners, anybody you know who's a fan of professional wrestling and mixed martial arts and wants to hear the technical side of the breakdowns of some of the best fights in the world under the premier organization. Double M and the Touch 'Em Up podcast is the way to go. So if you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube, leave a review for the podcast, and get this out to anybody you wish. I do accept donations via PayPal. I don't know if anybody likes to do that, but if you'd like to support the podcast via PayPal, you can do so at, I believe there's a link to the podcast and a link on my link. There should be a link here in the description of the podcast, and then there's also links on my YouTube channel. So go out of your way to check those out if you'd like to support the podcast. You don't have to. Just listening and tuning in is enough, but I definitely would appreciate some support on that side. I'm your host, Double M, and I'm out. Thank you guys, and have a good night.